Hey there everyone, this video today will be my first on-camera interview with someone who has helped me with my brand, Vamitch Creative, since the pandemic days. Our guest today is someone who has grown so much since we first met, and I believe her insightful perspectives can be helpful for others to learn from, as I have in some ways. So, how are you feeling today?
I am feeling good and ready for this.
Awesome. So let's get started with a little introduction of ourselves before we dive into the topic of independence and explore the concept of self-reliance. So please introduce yourself.
Great, thank you. So I'm Monica. I'm based in Kuala Lumpur, but helping businesses on a global scale to really nail their brand experience to keep their customers coming back for more. And the way that I do this is by using storytelling methods to make their customers feel like the hero of their story. And the brand is there to help them in their life's journey.
That's awesome. I'm Sharon from Vamitch Creative, and sometimes I go by the name Vamitch as well. I help people to explore their emotions, express themselves, and nurture their personal growth through content that I make and creative experiences like photo and video shoots, creative copywriting, workshops, and sharing stories from people around the world to everyone. So that's some bit about us. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is how and why did we choose this career path that we are on. So let's start with you, Monica.
Okay, thank you. So I've always been really in love and fascinated with stories and film since I was 4 years old. And it kind of became the direction that I wanted to go. Like I just kind of knew that was the path that I wanted to go for. And so I did visual effects and concept design, or like film, for my tertiary studies. But then while I was there, I realized that I wasn't so into the technical stuff. Like you could give me a camera and I would just shoot anything and I wouldn't care much about the quality or whatever. Because for me, the story was important. Like the angles and the way you present the visuals, like those were the things that really mattered to me the most. And when I walked out of college, I realized that maybe going into the film industry or the entertainment industry is not really like where I should be. And then fast forward to like a year of thinking really hard and exploring stuff, I found my true calling, which was telling stories for businesses and like personal brands or like people. And in that way, I can help to kind of empower them to really make meaningful things and build meaningful relationships and connections with their customers and people around them.
It sounds pretty awesome.
But what about you,
To me, it all started when I was really ill in many ways, and I thought, how can I make a living doing what I love to do while also taking things at my own pace? So I started freelancing to pay off some bills and also to figure out what I love doing. I realized that freelancing is not a long-term game for me, as I have a lot of dreams that I want to make happen. So when we reconnected 3 years ago, I remember the Ikigai exercise that we did, which helped a lot, along with other things. I didn't want to just do things for the money, and I'm not rich to begin with. But I just remember a lot of my childhood self who had these crazy dreams that everyone told me I couldn't achieve. And because of that, I decided to do what I love and do best, which is to gather and share stories for others to feel less alone in their life and to gain some perspectives. Part of me needed a creative outlet as well, so I translate those stories in any ways possible, creative or not. So throughout this part of my life, it came with other challenges as well, which leads to my next question. What challenges did you go through as a young Zillennial throwing themselves into business?
That is a good question because I know we are, well, I don't know about you, but like I was born I'm the first generation of the Gen Z, like the first one, right? Like 1997. And everybody just categorizes me as Gen Z. Like, you're Gen Z. And I know I am Gen Z, but as you said, right? We're kind of like in this in between. We're half millennial and half Gen Z. And I'm actually, I don't really have a problem being both, but there are some challenges being the in-between, And especially as an entrepreneur, right? You look at all these Gen Z people, and the one thing I really admire about them is how they are so, I don't know what's another word to call it, but like thick-skinned. Like they jump in, they take risks, they're not afraid of anything, and they know exactly what they want, right? And the millennials, on the other hand, they are, they have all these responsibilities. They're quite, at this point in time right now, many of them are like pretty, they've developed some sort of like a mental maturity and all that stuff. So for me, the challenge of being a Zillennial is, being young and carefree and wanting to do all these things. At the same time, you have all these responsibilities, and yet the Gen Z part that's lacking is jumping in and taking that risk, having that thick skin. There are a lot of times I find myself like through, with this whole business and entrepreneurial journey, where I know that by doing this or practicing this or putting myself out there, which is a really big challenge for me in the beginning, was really hard. And sometimes I look at like some of my friends and like people younger than me or even older maybe, and they're just, posting stuff, talking about it, and I can see how much they've grown as an entrepreneur or creative or whatever, and I truly admire that. And for me, that is kind of like that challenge. You want to go and do something, you're too shy.
Yeah.
At the same time, you have all these responsibilities that you have to, attend to, because you're at that age where you have to provide for a family. You've got to think about, maybe starting your own or experiencing life. And yeah, it's kind of like everything all together all at once.
Yeah, it's like a lot of challenges, but I guess that's like the main thing for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for me, it's like apart from the financial challenges which every solo entrepreneur faces by experience, what bothered me a lot was the lack of emotional and mental support from many people, as they chose a different path than I did, and they thought it was a phase for me at the time. So they encouraged me to do things that I didn't want to, and that sounds to me like settling. Whatever they were saying to me to do, like, you gotta do this, gotta do that. And to me, settling is just something that I loathe a lot. and it just ticks me in every way. So another thing is not having a roadmap to where I want to be, which I know I'll be experiencing it. And that challenge pushed me to grow into a very self-reliant person, which I've always stubbornly been, but it's a good thing now. So the next question I have for you is, what does self-reliance mean to you?
That is also another good question. So self-reliance, if you look at the Google definition, they would say it's the ability to make decisions without the need of others. And for me, that ties back into knowing and doing what you want, right? Earlier you spoke about ikigai, and then you also spoke about how a lot of people were telling you like you should have done this, you would be some more successful if you do this, you could have done that instead. And self-reliance to me means you being able to discern what it is that you want in your life, and having the courage to say yes and no to the things that either contribute or doesn't contribute to you. Yeah. And it's so important. It's so important because your life is your own to live, right? Everybody can give advice, and advice is welcomed. But there also is a point where we need to be able to come to the terms that this is our life, and this is the life we're going to live. This is our story. Other people are not going to live our life for us. So do what makes you happy. Don't inconvenience others, but just really find that self inside you and go and pursue what makes you happy. I have a really one advice that I got back in 2021, I think, from at that time I was doing like horse riding. I was going for classes and just learning, and then you get every class you attend, you get different coaches sometimes.
Yeah.
My last lesson that I went was with a new coach, and he gave me certain advice on how to do like a 2-point position stuff. And I was really confused because the previous coach had advised me to do things differently. And so I told this new coach, I said, that other coach said I should do it this way. And he was like, okay, you can do that way, or you can also try the way that I'm suggesting to you now. So I did it, and I can't remember whether it worked or not. But at the end of that lesson, this coach came to me and he said, whatever advice people give you, be open to it, but only work on the ones that suit you best. Whatever works for you. And I think that is also part of being self-reliant, Yeah, it was a powerful lesson, and I truly appreciate that coach. I have no idea what his name is, but God bless him wherever he is.
It sounds like something similar to what I'm going to say, because to me, self-reliance means having only yourself and choosing to do things on your own with and without the support and guidance from others. So it isn't bad to get help, but it's also bad to heavily rely on others to do every single thing. And I'm learning on the part where getting the right help, which I haven't been really successful at. And I'm glad that I figured out a lot of things on my own with and without the help of people. I believe it's really important to be self-reliant because without you, there is no life. And without the decisions we make on our own, who are we in this world?
I think it really, really is, definitely, for sure. Because again, it's our life, or it's your life to live, and you making your own decisions helps you to kind of put yourself in this space where you get to figure out who you are, especially. And if you always constantly rely on like advice or like support from people, if you rely on the support of others without having that self-reflectiveness and that, deep like conversations with yourself, like, okay, I'm doing this, why am I doing this, why am I following that advice, or whatever, right? If you don't have that, you tend to, I don't know what's the right term for this, but like forget yourself or lose a sense of yourself. You lose a sense of identity. And that's why like that Ikigai exercise that you did, right? I find that it was really, really important because it goes back into, Ikigai has like these 4 points, right? What do you love to do? What are you good at? What can you get paid for? And what the world needs. And Ikigai is basically like, once you have the answer for all these 4 things, you mash them up together, and that's kind of like Ikigai. And I remember watching, the first time I knew about this Ikigai thing was through Chris Do from the future. And he was using this Ikigai exercise on this lady who said she loved doing designs. She's good at designs. She loves going outdoors. She loves, she gets paid to do like design with creative work. And then the world needs, like people to go outside, to encourage people to go outside. And so Chris was like, okay, so these are your 4 points. Now, what's something that you can do with your life that maybe could make you happy? He said, well, maybe you could, design signages for theme parks. Maybe you could, work on an outdoor company, doing designs for them, or like an app design, something. And whatever he suggested had all those like 4 points kind of like filled in. And you could just see this lady like just smiling at a job that she hasn't even like searched for yet. And she was like already thinking of all the possibilities, like, oh yeah, I could work with an outdoor company and it would make me so happy and stuff. And that is, being in that self-reliance kind of like attitude helps you to really discern what you want and take charge of your own life. And trust me, you will find so much value in just making the decisions for yourself.
That's so true. And from everything that you shared today, all these experiences, like from being self-reliant in your own way, figuring things out. Like you were from film school and then you decided to do branding. So what have you learned as a solopreneur in the last 3 years?
Definitely, it's about doing it your way. I had a couple of experiences where, again, it was all the advices. I had wonderful support. I had, people giving me advices, which I truly, truly appreciate. And then there were also times when I would compare myself to others around me. I have a lot of friends who are into this entrepreneurship thing, and they're doing really great. Really, really great. I'm so proud of them. But one thing that is a failure on my part is that I tend to compare myself to them. And for me, the one lesson that I learned is to go at your own pace. Do it your way. Like, take references from all these people, the successful people for sure, but try your best not to compare, right? And you can challenge yourself, but make sure you do it for you. And to me, that's really important because, again, if you, as a solopreneur, if you focus on comparing yourself to others, if you focus on like, oh, that person is growing so much, I've got to grow as much as well, and then I've got to take advices from here and here and here and here and here, you tend to get so caught up in the hustle that you don't pay attention to the little like growth, the self-growth or the self-development that's going on in you as you progress through this entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
And I'll just share a really, really important quote that I heard from Jim Rohn this year. He said, "The greatest reward in becoming a millionaire is not the amount of money that you earn. It is the kind of person that you have become to become a millionaire in the first place." And that really hit me really, really hard because the journey is more valuable than the final outcome. We tend to value the growth rather than the end product. So
yeah, that's really, really something to think about. To me, it's like I learned the one thing, like the major thing that I learned is to do things the right way. It contradicts with how I do things sometimes, because there are times I like to just go and do that thing without a plan, without a thought. And then there are times that I just have to plan before I dive into it. And a lot of things in business, I would say I did poorly, but I have no regrets. So, because it came with a lot of lessons and self-reflection. I learned more about who I am and how I want to be moving forward, from the simplest things to the biggest things, biggest decisions. I also see a pattern where whatever I start with, for example, this video, although I overthink things at times, or more often at the start, eventually anything that I set out to do always started unpolished, full of flaws, and a lot of space for doing better the next time. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So, I'm just so sorry, but it reminds me of this one thing that I saw a few days ago. It says you can only make quality once you made quantity.
Yeah, it's like, maybe it's like a perfectionist thing, like, you have to get everything right and perfect and no faults from the start. But over the years, like, I think this whole solopreneur journey kind of teach you one thing or two about not getting things right the first time. Although I say, like, I really want to do things the right way the first time, but also like there's no regrets on it. Wait, what's that sound?
I don't know.
It's okay.
Okay.
Right, so that's quite a deep dive into our versions of independence, and we have come to the end of this conversation. Before we end this video, Monica and I have created a free downloadable workbook called Self-Reliance in Motion, a 30-day journal that we hope to help those who are figuring things out or to improve themselves in any ways possible. So please check out our free downloadable workbook in the link provided. There, anywhere. So which complements the valuable insights shared today. And at the end of the workbook, you can also book a call with us to have a chat on any questions that you have from the workbook. Thank you all for joining us today. And thank you, Monica, for spending some time with me today, sharing so much with us.
And it was an honor. Thank you for even considering me for this wonderful topic.
And if you find this video valuable and would like to have more content like this, please let us know in the comment section below. And hit the like, subscribe, or follow button for more insightful content. So have a lovely day or evening ahead. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.